everyone will make fun of me if I show up with that at the community washing spot on the first morning. And I resisted the overpowering urge to buy zip-off pants, for they are the sure sign of the uninitiated tourist. This much I have learned from my Kili research so far. I may not know which country we are flying to, which route we are climbing, or whether there will be a full moon during our ascent, but I did take care to read up on the fashion situation. And zip-off pants are definitely so yesterday. In addition to all this last-minute shopping, I also had to tackle the small matter of getting my hands on American dollars for tips for the porters and such. It's a good Africa lesson in general. You never know if some crazy African dictator will finally admit that printing $50 trillion notes doesn't make all that much sense, and that the good old US dollar is a much better vehicle to pay government workers and lure tourists. So the number one item you should pack when leaving America for a new life in Africa is a big wad of dollars. Or euros will also do in a pinch. If you didn't bring them with you, you'll have to source dollars locally, which in South Africa, due to currency exchange controls, and, frankly, mostly terrible customer service, is always a bit of an errand, involving plenty of the shoulder-shrugging and sighs of welcome to Africa that we've become accustomed to over the last few years. Some time ago, when I had about 500 euros left over from a prior trip to Germany, I thought I'd swing by the bank quickly on my round of errands to pay the money into our South African bank account. Of course, I should have known better than harboring hopes of completing any African errand quickly. When I was finally done, I wasn't sure that I hadn't just bought a house. The documents I needed for what I thought would be a simple transaction included a 2-page form filled in with all my personal details, a copy of my passport with a visa page, and an affidavit that I didn't own any foreign assets I was planning to sell while residing in South Africa. It took the better part of an hour before it was all done, which I mostly spent watching the clerk's every move as he retyped the entire form I completed into a computer, printed out a series of receipts, copied my passport, and filed the copy away, presumably in some giant vault, together with all the other copies they'd already made of my passport on previous visits, and then energetically stamped and stapled everything and handed me my own copy. When I returned to the bank earlier this week to retrieve South African rands from our account and convert them into US dollars, the procedure was more or less the same in reverse. It had the additional complication that I was asked for my plane ticket, which of course I didn't bring on the first try. In South Africa, you see, you can't just willy-nilly buy foreign currency as your heart desires, unless you can vouch for a bona fide trip abroad, and you pay dearly in fees for the amount you are allowed to convert. And yet, I suppose it could be worse. At least I don't have to schlep an entire haberdasher supply of exquisite cloth and beads and other colorful trinkets with me as a means to trade for supplies with the natives and to appease militant chieftains with lavish presents, as was required of Hans Meyer and all the other 19th century explorers of East Africa. It's always good to put a little perspective on your hardships. I've managed to get all these errands finished during the course of this week, which is none too soon. There's nothing like a firm deadline to render you at your most productive. And now, with only 2 days to go, I can no longer avoid the obvious. It's time to pack. First, I set out the 2 brand-new lightweight duffel bags I purchased expressly with the porters' heads in mind. I agonized about the correct size for weeks. Bags are typically advertised in terms of volume, here in South Africa in liters, but the guideline from our outfitter indicates a limit in weight, 15 kilograms. How the hell am I supposed to know how much space 15 kilograms worth of stuff is going to take up? Only when faced with the real danger of having to hand the porters my underwear and t-shirts piecemeal, for lack of a proper vessel to contain them, did I overcome my indecision and pick out the bags. Or rather, I had Julie at Trappers pick the bags for me. 1 green one and 1 blue one, and now that they're standing in front of me, they seem absolutely perfect. I gather every last item I've got tucked away in various corners of the house and dump everything onto our bedroom floor. Not a pretty sight, I can assure you, and one that didn't fail to attract Klaus's attention. "Wait, you've bought all of this stuff? That must have cost a fortune," was his immediate observation. I tried to placate him by listing all the items I had borrowed. A jacket for Max, gaiters for both of us, a pair of gloves, and a few beanies. "And look, I'm finally using the 20 jillion hand warmers you bought," I pointed out helpfully, in an effort to divert attention from my shopping excesses to his. Well,